Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Expect Miracles podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, one of my good friends, Matt Schlags, great hockey player, grew up playing some college puck with him. He has a pretty amazing life story that I'm very excited to get into because I never heard the story firsthand. And it's one of those stories where something happens to you and you come out the light at the other end of the tunnel and you're a different person. And he's an all-around great guy. Very excited for this episode. Please welcome Matt Schlags.
Hey,
Matt,
how we doing?
how are you today?
Good. Appreciate the intro. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're willing to come on and share your story because I'm sure it's been a little bit of a wild ride for you the last couple of years. Some good times, some bad times, and overall, I think you're doing really well. And it's one of those stories where I just love having people with this type of story on the podcast because it just sheds some light on some life circumstances you don't see coming, and you roll with the punches and you get through it.
Yeah.
All right, brother. So where are you from originally?
So, born and raised in the same house in Lake Pecca, New Jersey. And
Beautiful lake.
Yeah, it's good.
Summers over there are fun.
Yeah, it was nice with everybody. I mean, we had one growing up, and then we weren't going out on it as much as we, used to. But pretty much everyone had a boat. So, I mean, we weren't on the lake, but we're half a mile walk from the lake. So,
beautiful.
Going out there, it's always good times.
Was hockey something you were always into, or growing up?
Well, yeah, once I started playing it, I loved it, but I was pretty lucky with getting into it with our youth, our town, Jefferson Township. They just, you just kind of enroll in every sport, like soccer, basketball, and they had an outdoor roller hockey league that was as popular as youth soccer. Like there was like 12 teams for like the entry level thing. And then just one year, like the town ice hockey coach was the roller hockey coach. And, I wasn't bad. And he's like, I see you really like it. Do you know how to ice skate? And growing up on the lake in the winters, I would ice skate out there.
Some good pond hockey out there, right?
Yeah. So just got into it, started playing in like third grade or whatever. And then, I did that my whole childhood.
That's beautiful. So I met you in college. We had some good times together. And then what was your plan going into college? What did you want to get out of it? What did you want to do afterwards?
I mean, I had no idea. I was like that typical kid who goes to college and it's like, I just went to college because everyone just told you, go to college.
Yeah, exactly.
We were lucky. I mean, I grew up pretty lucky that, we had the ability for, me to go to college. Catholic, just kind of, I wasn't great academically in high school, but I did go to a Catholic high school and that, kind of steered us towards there. I initially just threw Catholic on I don't know if they had this for you because you're a couple years ahead of me, but do you remember the Common app? Do you ever have that?
Yeah. You one application for like a bunch of different schools.
Exactly. And I just didn't feel like filling out a bunch of applications.
Oh, yeah.
And our guidance counselors were pushing everyone. They're like, you should apply to, X amount of schools. And I was like, all right, give me a list of the schools on the Common app. And then like Catholic ended up like offering a little money because it was like I was confirmed in a Catholic church and I went to a Catholic high school and my parents were like, look, man, like no other school offered you a penny. Like you owe it to us. Go down to DC and look at Catholic. And that was for Odyssey Day.
Yes,
and I
sir.
remember
I met you that day.
Yeah. I still have you in my phone as Kevin Seaway Ice Hockey.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, man, we had a great group of guys down there that we obviously still talk to today. Had the great alumni game we were just at in March. And can't ask for a better group of guys. My grade and your grade included, all just like unbelievable people.
Yeah, no, a lot of good guys.
So what were you doing after college? You stayed in the DC area, right?
Yeah, so I majored in accounting, and there was a accounting grad school program at Catholic. They had just started, I think, the year before my senior year. And I applied to that. Actually, through my like the head of the accounting department, I got an internship like right after my senior year, and I worked internships and just got my master's in accounting immediately after graduating. And so I basically had like a 5th year of normal college. I mean, I was still taking, 15 credits a semester. I still had full-time classes, but I was able to work, and I got to like kind of transition into like the real world where it
That's
was,
awesome. I
you
mean,
know,
a lot of people would kill for that extra year of school just to make that transition.
and sports. We got to like,
You played another year of hockey, right?
yeah, hockey. And at that point we had started club lacrosse too.
Oh
So I was
man.
playing that. So it's like, I'm going from happy hours with like, partners. And then I'm just like, yeah, I got lacrosse practice. And they're like, how old are you? Like, what are you doing? I'm like
Yes.
23. They're like, you're playing lacrosse? Like, what?
And how was the transition into the real world? The actual, like, when school was done, you're working at the accounting firm. Did you like it? How was that?
I liked it. I mean, I'd interned there through grad school. So I kind of, I got the offer through like, before my internship was over, and it was, so I knew pretty much who I was going to be working for and what I was going to be
Hmm.
doing. So that was kind of reassuring. And then I ended up living with a couple kids from college. So it was kind of smooth. Looking back, it like, I mean, I didn't stick around in public accounting.
Hmm.
But I almost felt like in some ways it wasn't the most beneficial, because it was like I was still living with kids I partied with in college, and then it's like I'm still working a job that I was able to get away with stuff when I was an intern, and
Yeah.
I never kind of like sat down and was like, hey, like, look, we're done. Like, I was still like hanging on to being like a college student, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm just like, you can't be doing this, like,
Yeah. Well, I
but
remember a couple years before, or maybe not a couple years, maybe it was just before the house incident happened. I remember talking to you at Wenzel's wedding, and you were kind
yeah.
of looking for something else, like a different transition. Not that you were displeased with your job or anything. You were looking for something different. I remember you really like just getting that sense out of you. And it's I think it happened for you, which is awesome, with through a
Yeah.
very roundabout way. But
Yeah.
so uh yeah, so let's jump into what happened here. That whole day, I kind of like asking people, like, when someone has like a big life event happen to them, what was that whole day like? Did you feel weird? Did it feel off, or did it feel like just a normal day?
It honestly, I mean, short answer, it was a completely normal day. It was,
Completely normal day.
yeah, it was nothing like, I had just like gotten back from like Minnesota the day before, and it was like, you get like a late Sunday night flight. And
Mhm.
then I remember, because I think it was a Tuesday night, and it was like I got in late Sunday. I remember coming home from work Monday, and I was like kind of exhausted. And then it was finally Tuesday. Like, I'd gotten through that Monday, I gotten through the Tuesday, and I was like, all right, we're just gonna chill. Like, I just remember kind of being like, I don't got to get on a flight for a couple weeks. Like, I'm good. So no, it was completely normal. I didn't have any premonitions or
And
anything.
what happened that night? And what do you recall? Because I've never heard the story from you. I've heard from people that actually visited you in the hospital afterwards, and I was just getting
Mm.
it from everybody else. But love to hear it from the source here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you gave like a pre-intro or anything before I came on or
Nothing
anything.
yet.
Yes, so I mean, I was living in Arlington, Virginia, and just one night, living with 3 of my buddies, and our house burned down, and I got trapped in the house. I wasn't able to get out, and I was the only person. Everyone else was no problem, but I wasn't able to get out, and firemen rescued me out unconscious through my bedroom window. And then, yeah, they put me in a medically induced coma for a couple hours, and then, I mean,
Do
I
you
mean, I
have
can go
any?
into more details, but yeah, basically the house burned down, and I got trapped in there.
Did you? Were you conscious at all? Like, did you wake up in a panic, or you literally? When did you wake up? Because you were
I woke
sleeping when
up
this
in
was
the
all going on. You woke
so
up in the hospital.
yeah, so I get home from work that Tuesday night, and I remember. So this is October 10th. I think it happened technically at the 11th at like 1 a.m, but it's October 10th. Come home. I remember it was the first ever home game in the Vegas Golden Knights history, and I
Okay.
remember me and my and it was. I mean, to go, unfortunately I remember they were honoring because they'd had that horrible shooting a couple of weeks before that.
Mm-hmm.
So like their first ever home game, they had that huge ceremony. And I just remember being like, this is like I was like, this is like, what an emotional, like,
Yeah.
like as if like a big hockey game's not emotional enough. It's like, wow, like it was just a moment. But I remember like just having a couple beers with my roommates and just watching that game. And that was the last thing I remember. And I woke up in the hospital.
And what caused the fire?
So they don't know. It was inconclusive. It was a pretty old house.
Mm-hmm.
And they think it was some electrical wiring outside. I mean, it was, like I said, it was, beginning of October. Who knows? Somebody could have, just flicked a cigarette out their window sitting at a stop sign, and it hits a leaf, whatever. And inconclusive. They never figured out what it was, and they don't.
So what's it like? What's it like waking up in the hospital the next day? No recollection of anything. What's your state of mind? Like right as you wake up, what the hell is that like?
So immediately I open my eyes and you kind of think you're in a dream. And also, I mean, you're so you're like so doped up, obviously,
Yeah.
With something like that. And that's why I don't recall anything, because what I've told, I'm sure there's, people listening to this that know a lot more about medicine than me. I just said I studied accounting, so I'm going to get some of this. It's probably not going to be perfectly accurate, but apparently when they induce you into a coma, you don't remember.
Why did they do that?
So what had happened was, I don't recall, like I said, but I don't know if I just rolled out of bed and was never officially conscious, like went from sleeping to not breathing, or for all I know, I got up and tried to get out of my room for a minute. And then just what had ultimately happened was the fumes coming through the floorboards, even just the whole house was so hot that I took a couple breaths, and just from the breaths, the chemicals knocked me out. And then I ended up getting 2nd-degree burns in my lungs.
So you stopped breathing.
Yeah.
And your body's burning on the inside.
Yeah. So I had gotten 2nd-degree burns from, inhaling the hot air and all the chemicals in them. And when they found me, I wasn't breathing and I was unconscious. And they got me out of the house.
How long were you in the house for burning like that?
So we don't
know
exactly how long, but we know that. So my 2 roommates that were home, there's 4 of us that live there. One of them was away at his girlfriend's for that night, thankfully, because the fire started on the porch, because it's an old house, wooden porch. So once that went up, the house was history, and his room was right on the porch. So his
might have been gone.
His room was just incinerated. I mean, and he was gone. So that was good. My other 2 roommates got out of the house, but I mean, like I said, I wasn't there for it, but from what I heard, it's black smoke. They can't see anything. They wake up, they're thinking they're having a bad dream. So they run outside, and in a matter of seconds, they see each other and they're like, what's going on? And they're kind of like, where Schlags, like, so they start yelling, and then they try to go in our back entrance by the kitchen where they ran out of. And at that point the fire had moved in to like where the stairs and like the entrance, and they couldn't get back in the house. And the only other entrance was off of the front porch, which
did they have their phones on them?
No, they ran out with no phones, no wallets, no anything.
Jesus. So it wasn't your, it wasn't, it was the, it was the neighbors that called the fire department then.
Yeah. Well, they ran out yelling in the streets, and I guess one of the neighbors had heard the ruckus and my roommates yelling for me, because as much as, they are trying to save me, they're also like, they're not like, wait, one of us go run, grab a phone. Like and this all happens in a matter of seconds, I imagine.
Right.
I wasn't prepared for it, but I guess the second they started yelling, a neighbor came out, saw it, and was like, I already called, guys. Like, what, what do you guys need? Like, and the firemen, who were just, I mean, absolute heroes. From when they got the call, from when like the phone on the wall rang in the fire department until they had me stabilized and breathing in the ambulance, was 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
How insane is that?
7 minutes.
Yeah, dude, these guys are heroes. And honestly, and I can't thank them without thanking my roommates, because when they got there, they said my roommates were like on the spot, like legit surgeons, where they were like, he's in that room, it's that window. They're like, when you go in through the back door, there's going to be stairs like in
They
10
were on
yards.
their game.
Take those. He's the first room on the right. And like the firemen were like, man, like your roommates, like they couldn't have made it easier for us. Like, and when you're not breathing like that, and it's, you know, I don't want to be grim, but it's like, you don't know if 2 more minutes is like, you get permanent brain damage or something.
One more, yeah, it could have been one more minute. Who the hell knows? 7 minutes. That's one of the most impressive stats I've ever heard.
It was insane. I mean, they're right down the road, you know, Arlington, Company 4. They're heroes. Yeah, they're the nicest guys too.
So let's go back to where I was asking you, like, what were those first minutes to first hour like in the hospital, waking up from, was just another night going to bed, to where you could have been just completely gone? What's running through your head, like after the, well, actually just walk me through it. You open your eyes and what happens?
Yeah, so I'm on my back, and I don't think I'm strapped down, but there's people all around me. And I don't have a lot of strength either. So it's like, when I'm saying I'm kicking and stuff, I'm probably not really kicking, like, you know, like you'd imagine somebody in a straitjacket. Like, it probably wasn't like that. But in my head, I'm like, what is going on? And I'm just trying to feel all my limbs, you know? Like, it was almost like a bad dream where I'm just like, can I feel everything?
Did you
Like,
think you
can
were
I see?
paralyzed at all or something?
Well, that's why I started kicking. And then I realized, like, immediately, and when I started doing that, they started talking to me. And they were
The
like, hey,
doctors.
yeah, they were like in my ear, but I also couldn't talk because they intubated me and I was on a ventilator. So I had a tube going through my throat, breathing for me, because I was, you know, I wasn't able to breathe on my own, but also they were worried, even if they like got me back, that my esophagus and throat and everything were so inflamed that it would have just shut and I
Oh
wouldn't have been able to
man.
breathe. So
Wow.
they had this tube running through, so it was open and breathing for me. So when I woke up, I think at least I was breathing on my own, but it was still like, we need to keep this tube in there because we take it out, it could just shut and you can't breathe. But so I can't talk. So they're all like, just like, hey, there was a fire, everyone's fine. So like, honestly, like I woke up and it was a couple seconds of dread, but then it was good, better news. But hey,
Yeah.
you're okay, you know, because then I'm like, you know, once I find out I'm okay, I'm just like, well, what do I look like? I was in a house
Mhm.
fire, you know, which is another thing, which is, you know, not to be shallow, but you're like, am I even
Yeah.
going to recognize myself? And I had no, like, I was banged up and stuff, but I had no serious exterior burns or anything.
Just the second degree
Yeah,
burns in the lungs.
all my burns were internal. So they were telling me stuff, but it was still kind of freaky because I can't converse. And it took,
So
you
you're
know,
it's so you're hearing the information, you're wanting to say stuff,
I have
but
so many questions.
you can't talk.
Yeah. And it's like, also, even if I could talk, they'd be like, what are you saying? Like, there's so much morphine in you right
Do
now.
you do you like, in your mind, like, did you think you were talking?
I could tell it's like the weirdest feeling ever. It was like, I was just like yelling and it was like I couldn't even move my mouth to pretend like I was making the noises. You know, it wasn't even like, you know, when you're underwater and you
Yeah.
could say something and you can kind of hear the vibrations.
Yeah.
It was just like one same tone. Like I couldn't even
Was
move.
your hearing was probably a little jacked up too, right?
Yeah, but also I could feel that I wasn't even able to move my mouth enough to like
Oh man,
make the
that is
noises,
scary.
because it was like even like my tongue and stuff were stabilized. So it's like it was just a yell if I made any noise at all. And they were like, you don't want to do that. Like give your lungs a rest. Like, trust me, you
So
know.
how long did they have you like that for?
So I had that tube in me for a little over 24 hours.
So you were
And
just chilling, no talking, just watching. Were you very
yeah,
tired or?
so yeah, I slept most of that first day. So that was when I woke up, that was probably like 6, 7 a.m. And then people, like, you know, my roommates, because I mean, they were a mess. It was like they didn't have their phones or wallets. Like they couldn't get anything until the fire was like out for long enough that the, you know, the firemen cleared them to go in and grab something. And then they got their phones, and then they didn't have my parents' phone numbers. So they started calling my friends who would have my parents' phone numbers, but it's, you know, it's 5:30, 6, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Some people are
Oh
still
man.
like snoozing it, you know? So it took a while to get a hold of anyone.
What a phone call for a parent to wake up to too.
Yeah, but it was yeah, no, that day was, I mean, people started showing up and hanging out with me. I don't remember a lot of it. My parents, when everything finally like cleared and they actually got the number of my doctors, and they were talking to my roommates on the phone, and they're like, no, we're with him. Like, that's when they kind of got me like a notepad, and I was writing stuff to people. And, you know, more people started showing up, and it was funny because it's like, you know, me, like, I mean, I could talk for days. Like, I'm sure everybody listening to this now is like, "Was this kid done yet?" Like, but but it was so fun. People were like, "Wow, man, Schlag's like, this is great. You haven't had to talk all day. Like,
Wow.
we might keep this in another 36 hours." So, um,
and
no.
then and then so what's they take the tube out and everything, and what's that like?
So they kept it in for like 24 hours, and then so then the next morning they wake me up. I mean, I didn't sleep that great anyway. Um, like once the, you know, the painkiller started to wear off, I couldn't, you know, I was up like before they moved me to the procedure room where they're going to take it out. And the one thing I remember is I had one of my parents leave their phone with me because because I didn't have my phone yet. It was, nobody dug for it in the house because it really wasn't necessary. You know,
Hmm.
what was I going to do with a phone anyway?
Yeah.
Um, but I remember it was dumb. I started like looking up all the articles because some people had seen it online and were like, it was on the news, and they're like, "Yo, is that your guy's house?" Like, to my roommates and stuff. And it had said in the articles it was like life-threatening injuries. And at that point, you know, I've been alive for 24 hours. I mean, I had horrible news,
Hmm.
but after it's been 24 hours, I'm like, I mean, we're in the clear now, right? You know?
Hmm.
And I remember asking the one nurse, and I guess legally they can't say yes. I was like, of course I'm writing it on a marker board though. I'm like, you know, like,
Am I gonna live?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like writing how like Charlie Kelly talks in Always Sunny too. I was like, alive me, question mark, like, like, but but yeah, I remember just being like, it's not life threatening anymore. And she's like, well, technically, she's like, if we take the tube, she's like, because the procedure that they were getting me up for was to remove the tube and basically just be like, is he going to breathe on his own, you know, or is
Mhm.
it going to shut? And she was like, if it shuts, we need to do like an emergency tracheotomy. And she's like, and those are always tricky. And
Oh
I'm
fuck.
like, can I like text some people quick? So I remember like texting like my girlfriend and my parents and just kind of having a, you know, like it was the last thing they wanted to see at like 6 or 7 in the morning. But I was just like, hey guys, like they're about to do this pretty risky procedure. Like, you know, if things go wrong, like, you know, thank you for everything. Like, I love
Oh
you guys. And
man.
like, but like, I mean, I was confident it was gonna be fine, but I was still kind of just
There's
like
always that one
really,
little
there's a
thing in the
chance,
yeah.
because it's like, you know, but that was, you know, they didn't love getting at it. You know, it's just,
No.
you know, they're waiting for their, you know, coffee to be ready, and they're like, what? Like, so I mean, that
So
was, yeah.
what did so what happens when they took it out?
Um, I mean, it worked. I remember they pulled it out, and it was
You
like,
start breathing on your own.
yeah. I mean, like obviously, I kind of like puked a little blood, you know,
Yeah.
behind it. You know, it's
Yeah.
almost like pulling out a catheter. It kind
Yeah.
of same sort of thing, which was
Yeah.
also fun. That happened too. But like yeah, and I was just like, I just remember, you know, it was like ripping off a band-aid. Like it was kind of just like I was there, like they had two people like holding my arms, and then someone kind of just like, you know, I'm probably describing it more like violent than it was, but for me it was like I was sitting down like waiting for someone to just tear this out of my chest.
Mhm.
And it was out, and it was out, and I just remember like, and they immediately kind of gave me like, you know, oxygen and like some other things to help me, and it was fine. I mean, like once my, you know, because obviously my heart was racing
Yeah.
before and the seconds after they ripped it out, but once it was out, I was breathing, and they were like, I think you're in the clear. And then they moved me back to my ICU unit, and I sat there for, you know, 4 or so days. And then I was in just like I was in a general unit for one night, and then they cleared me to go.
What was it like breathing like that? Extremely painful?
I just remember being so worried about, I had also never thought about not breathing. So it was like, you know, it wasn't like you were turning the keys in your car and you're like, is she going to start? You know, is she going to start today? Like it kind of I just was breathing. And I just remember looking at them like, we're good, right? We're good. We're good.
But in the days following, second-degree burns in the lungs, was it tough to take deep breaths and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely short of breath, but I wasn't really exerting enough energy to get out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like the first time I got up to use the restroom or even just go for casual walks, it was like, but that's also, I don't know how much of that is my lungs or my energy level, you know?
Yeah.
But it was tough. It was different. It was new. Like it hurt. And I had the other thing it was kind of gross. I'd ingested so much of like the fumes and other chemicals that just come with being in an old house. And so I was spitting up like black mucus for like, even when I was out of the hospital, I was like coughing some stuff up that had just like coated my lungs, just like ash. And
so Schlogs, you were in the hospital for what, 4 days?
Yeah, 5 days, but like, ICU for 4 and then the usual regular unit for 1.
So you got a good amount of time to really like ponder shit. I'm sure your some of your thoughts are racing. What goes on in your head after in a life event like that? What are you thinking?
I mean, it's just like I mean,
you
I don't know, a
must have had
lot.
some big like revelations, like holy shit, like
yeah, you're like, what? Like a house fire? Like I think there was like maybe one kid in my middle school who like their house burned down and we had like a fundraiser for him. But other than that, it's like a house burning down. Like what? Like what is that happens? You don't think about it. And I think it was just, I realized how lucky I was for not only that, but then, the people that came to be by my side and were like, oh man, I can't believe that. And I was just like, yeah, like I was just like, oh wow, yeah, you're like, thank you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
people coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, it was just awesome to see, like my girlfriend was still living in Nashville, and she like was on the next flight up, my parents and all my friends and my roommates, and just seeing how like, my roommates are just so like, I honestly felt bad I put them through that. Like I was just like,
guys, I'm so sorry.
Like, yeah, like when we would finally like, when it was finally in the clear and we would go out, people would like all like be asking the stories, but be like, man, like we're Schlag's like, I'm so, and I'm like, well, I'm fine. I was like, they had to witness that. I was like, I was drinking a beer and the next thing I knew I was in a hospital and I just, like, I was like, I didn't have to see that. Like, that must've been horrifying. Like thinking like, you're not able to help someone who's right there. I was like, oh man, I'm sorry guys. Like, and they were like, we're just glad you're all right. I mean, they're great dudes obviously, but that was, that was crazy.
So Schlag, I got a couple questions for you now.
Yeah.
Do you look at life a little bit differently? Were there certain things you were taking for granted before that were just like really eye-opening now? You're like, holy shit, well, you kind of touched on it before, but you're just like, you sound like just more grateful for a lot of things in life.
Definitely. I mean, it sounds silly and it's not like, I really don't think I was taking people for granted, but when you see how upset people got, and it's like, you hear, and it wasn't like this, but you hear people say, and it's like kind of cheesy where people are like, oh, like I want, like how many people would come to your funeral? Like kind of thing like that. And it was,
you got to see your own funeral.
Yeah. And like, that's super cheesy when people say that, but it's like, I was like, this many people like took off work to just like, oh my, like I had friends on plane, like, like Nick and Jimmy and Garrett, Zach, like
just to see if you were okay.
Yeah. And Paul, like all the, the people who travel, people were on trains and planes, like picking each other up. And like, I remember Nick was borrowing his mom's car and he got in like a fender bender, like on their street. She's like, can you drive? And he's like, yeah. She's like, well, then you better keep heading south. Like, Clogs needs you. Like, so it was like, it was just really nice. Everybody. Yeah. Like I said, I didn't take it for granted, but I was just like, man, these people love me. Like, maybe I should let these people know how much I love them. And then, I mean, health. I was still like, I was like smoking cigarettes. Like I wasn't a big smoker, but I started in college, like having some with a beer and then it turns into like, you go and you get beer, you buy cigarettes too. And it becomes, it's kind of a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I've been smoking these cigarettes. Like, do you know what it's like to not be able to breathe? Like,
Mm,
I've been doing this. So I quit like cigarettes and all tobacco that day. So that was something that was a no brainer as
definitely.
far as like long-term health. You're like, breathing? Like, imagine not being able to breathe, and like, it's not fun, but
And did you make any different life decisions like after that day? I mean, obviously you're in a completely different city now. You moved to
yeah.
Nashville. Um, Different job.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Obviously you got a beautiful girlfriend in Nashville. You wanted to be with her, but like,
mhm.
do you think this life event made it just that much easier did it put more things in perspective of doing what you really wanted to do because life can be very short and might as well just go for it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think also it's just, you know, it sometimes, like, like you said, life is short and go for it. And I kind of struggled with, like, I didn't have any like crazy passion for like, I want to do this, or like, I want to really take a risk and like move out here and try and make it. But like what I'd kind of struggled with was like just making decisions to just be like happy, where I was like, well, no, this is something that is considered more successful. And you
Mm,
were like, but I hate it and I'm not that great at it. Like,
hmm.
I remember being in the hospital, and one of my things was like, I had been studying for the CPA exams at the time, and I hated it. I was so far away from like, passing one of the exams.
That shit's
And
hard too.
yeah. And I just remember being like, I remember being relieved, like, oh wow, I have a valid excuse for not studying for a couple of days. And then I just kind of like let that sink in. I was like, dude, that is not healthy. Like, why am I working in here that I'm like relieved I don't have to go to work for a couple of days? So no, I just kind of I thought about what I really liked, and I just wanted to do something different that I felt challenged with. I didn't like public accounting, and I just wanted to get more active. I felt like I was kind of robbing myself of dopamines from not being active. I was just kind of lounging around, and I wanted to pick up hockey again and everything. And
Stop
that was
playing
my big
hockey for a little bit
motivation.
in Arlington.
What's that?
You stopped playing hockey for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't play for a couple years after college. I just started playing ball hockey
Hmm.
because ice was so expensive there, and I kind of just lost the passion for it. But
Yeah.
then ball hockey, and then when I got out of there, I was like, I remember that was my motivation. I was like, I'm gonna build up my lungs. I'm gonna be able to try and play again. And it was a long road, and they gave me inhalers. Like, they basically told me I now have asthma.
Hmm.
And as of August, like this past summer, almost a year ago, I've been completely off the inhalers. I went and did a lung test, breathing exams and stuff, and I'm completely off it. So I'm back to where, if not better than where I was before the fire. So
Awesome.
did
Well,
that. Um, Switched up careers, doing something that's, I enjoy more. Not working those crazy public accounting hours for something you don't like.
hmm.
And
How was the transition to Nashville? I mean, I've only spent weekends there, and it's just it's an unreal place, an unreal energy you get down there. I'm a huge live music guy, so I
yeah,
love going to that city. How has the move been for you?
dude, it's been great. I've been down here. I moved here after Thanksgiving 2018, so
Hmm.
year and a half, I'd say. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, my girlfriend Jess, we went to high school together in New Jersey. She's in the PhD program down here, and I'd been coming down and visiting her all the time, and I just absolutely loved it. And I was spending more of my days off. I'm like, let's
Coming to
just go
Nashville.
there. Yeah, I loved it. So once right after the fire, I'd kind of told myself I was like, I'm gonna start looking for other stuff. It had happened right before tax season. I was like, I'm going to finish tax season because I can't quit in the middle of that. I wouldn't find a
Right.
job by it anyway. And I would just be screwing over the people that I had worked with all summer and fall. So I was like, once busy season's done, like I'm going to start looking for stuff. And I started throwing applications to Nashville. It started as kind of like, why not? You just
Hmm.
start throwing applications everywhere. But I didn't want to go back to New York, New Jersey. just because, you know, the degrees I had and the job I would have got, I would have been spending I would have been either riding the bus for a couple hours
Mm-hmm.
or spending 80% of my salary on rent.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started throwing things down here, got a job with UPS doing finance stuff. It's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. And, but living here is just great. I'm close to everything. I get, you know, we just moved into a 2-bedroom here in Nashville with my girlfriend. Cause she was already in a lease when I first came down, but, it's been great. I mean, playing hockey 3 nights a week.
Yeah. You're playing hockey again. That's awesome.
Yeah, obviously not with the, you know, COVID, but it's
Yeah.
just a fun
Dude,
time.
I was just getting back into it too. I played for 2 months and then COVID hit and I was like,
Mhm.
damn, I was just getting back into it. I missed it. I stopped playing too.
Yeah, it's tough, but no, Nashville's been great. I mean, everybody loves music, everybody loves sports, and everybody loves to have fun, and it's been great. No, I'm happy. I'm happier than I've ever been down here for sure.
I mean, that's what it's all about, my friend. I mean, and if this fire didn't happen, who knows? That voice in the back of your head could have always been like, that's not a smart move, quote
Yeah,
unquote. That's not a smart move for you to go to Nashville financially, this reason, that reason. And a lot of people have that voice in their head forever. Everybody's got that voice, but
yeah,
there's certain life instances that really make you either forget about it or you just go for it. And so it sounds like this was also a blessing for you.
yeah. I mean, it just changes the way you look at everything. I mean, you know, I chose accounting because it was like the most secure way to get a job immediately out of school. And then it was like, let's start throwing random job applications to a random city in a different state. Like it was kind of the opposite of that. So I'm glad. Yeah, it definitely made me look at things in a different light. So
And so we've kind of been talking about this, but I just wanted to straight up ask you, what did you learn from this experience?
I mean, you never know. I mean, just
You never know
don't get
is right.
upset with little things. You know,
You never know.
I see some people get so frazzled, and I mean, I'm not here, you know, I'm not on my soapbox saying like I'm Mr. Calm and reasonable all the time, but there are some days where it's just like you see people get upset about something. You're like, what? You're like,
Yeah,
really? Like, you know, and it's you know, it's not to say like, oh, you know, that's not trauma. Like, I'll show
right.
you trauma, but it's kind of just there's some times where it's like, okay, well, let's think about it. Like, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I wasn't
It could
always the
always
most
be
level-headed
worse.
person.
It could
Yeah,
always be worse for sure.
yeah.
And
So,
Schlogs, at the end of every episode, I like to ask all my guests if there is one piece of advice you would like to gift the audience. It could be absolutely anything. What would it be?
yeah. So, get renter's insurance. If you're still,
I remember dude, that was like one of the things you told me right after it happened. I was like, what?
yeah, yeah. I don't know how old your listeners are. I don't know how many are renting, but man, get renter's insurance. I mean, I think I had just sent the check in like a month before it happened, and it's like under $200, and it covers like so much. But yeah, get renter's insurance. It's simple. And then one other thing that I actually what you call it, that I didn't know that was kind of crazy, but what the fireman had said, and like I'm not trying to like sound paranoid, but it was something interesting that I know that like my mom has shared this with like some of her friends with like young children or grandchildren. But one thing they had said was with my room, and we were talking about it before, where it's just like, you know, who knows if another 30 seconds passed, what could have happened. What they had said was, so my bedroom door was completely shut, not like it, I don't know if it was locked, but it was, the door handle had clicked in, like
Hmm.
it was shut. When the fire came up the stairs, and with the breeze, it didn't travel into my room, it went by it, so it didn't like turn in there, whereas it would have pushed it open and
Ooh.
gone in. So even after the fire, when we went back in the house, the hallways and like the outside of my bedroom door were just pitch black. And then you open my door, and like it was night and day. Like
Holy
just the
shit. I didn't
walls, there
think
was like
about that.
hardly any ash on the walls in my bedroom. And it was just like, they're like, yeah, I mean, that could have saved your life. They're like, we don't know how.
Wow. Dude, I had no idea about that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So, yeah. So my, like, you know, I know my mom, you know, their friends, like they have, you know, if they have not infants or, you know, younger kids where they're kind of like, oh, like they're not, you know, they like to, they like run to their parents' room at night and like whatever. So we leave their door open a little bit, but like, you know, now they shut it because they're, you know, and I don't want to spread paranoia and be like, oh, make
It's
sure you
just a
do this
good
now.
tip. It's a
But
good
it was
tip.
just kind of crazy. It was like, wait, like just kicking my door shut, like could have saved me. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, I guess that's something I would figured I'd share.
So Schlag, it's like I kind of mentioned this in the beginning when we started, but this is one of the stories why I started this podcast, because it's just inspiring, it's uplifting, and you come out the other side a completely different person. And I like these are my favorite episodes. So thank you for coming on, laying all the cards out on the table, and telling your story, because I just love hearing these stories. Thank you for coming on. I know we were a little bit hesitant to do this in the beginning, but dude, thank you so much. Awesome episode. These are why I do this podcast. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, buddy. It's been great. Thank you.
Absolutely.